Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Maddie and I'm going to be doing the mid-year book tag. I've done this tag a few years in a row now. I like doing these updates for you guys so you guys can get some new book recommendations that maybe I haven't mentioned in previous videos before. If you guys want to answer any of these questions, please comment down below. I always want to start conversations in the comments. I'm always looking for new book recommendations. I've got a pile behind me. Let's get right into it. The best book that I've read so far this year. And this year I've had 9 5-star reads so far, and I feel like that's pretty good. Last year total, I only had 11 5-star reads. So the fact that I have 9 right now makes me really, really happy. But my favorite has been Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. So well-rounded. The atmosphere, the meet cute, the tropes, the couple Emma and Justin. Like, I loved every second of this book. I quite literally, looking back, I don't think there's a flaw in this book. Zero. You cannot convince me that there is something wrong with this book. Even the smut, it wasn't like smutty, it was kind of closed door, but there were some spicy scenes, but even the spicy scenes were so emotional. I did do a book review on this as well, so if you want to know more about this book, you can watch that video. It'll make the top 3 probably of the year. That's what I'm assuming because I read this a few months ago and I cannot stop thinking about it. How many books have I read this year? I just finished this morning my 50th book this year. My overall goal, like on Goodreads, was 80. In years past, I've always done like 100 books as my goal, but this year I wanted to challenge myself and to take my reading a little bit slower, which I actually think I have, even though that I'm more than halfway through my reading goal. I think in the later half of this year, I'm gonna slow down my reading just a little bit. I'm reading some bigger books, like bigger fantasy, bigger historical fiction that will come kind of in the fall and winter, so I plan to slow down my reading. I think 80 is a pretty reasonable goal. If I hit 75, perfect. If I hit 85, great. I don't really care where I land as long as I'm reading with intention and purpose. And yeah, I've read 50 books. It's been pretty good. It's been really romance heavy. This year it's been really romance heavy, where I think in the later half of the year, coming up on fall and winter, it'll get more like fantasy romance, again, historical fiction. The best sequel that I've read in 2024, now this is tough because I feel like I haven't read that many sequels. Like, I think there's only been like 2 or 3, so I didn't have a big group to pick from for this question, but you guys could probably guess. I'm gonna say House of Flame of Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. I know this one is really, really controversial compared to her other books. People either really loved this book or really hated it. I fell on the side that I really loved it. I think that it did what it was supposed to do for Bryce. We have to remember that this is Bryce's series, and I think, yes, there were some slower parts or some parts that I wasn't expecting, but I think that's what made it so good. So, House of Flame and Shadow. A new release I haven't read yet, but I really want to. I actually received it in the mail yesterday. A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. I finished The 7-Year Slip 3 weeks ago. So beautiful. The most beautiful writing. I also read The Dead Romantics last year and I didn't love it as much as I loved The 7-Year Slip. So I'm hoping that this one falls on the really, really like it side, maybe even a 5-star. That would be so great. It's also such a pretty, vibrant color. I love saturated colors and this is so pretty. Since it came in the mail yesterday, it's been the most recent book that I put on my shelf, so I'm kind of just like really amped to read it. I'll probably read it in the next few months, but I think this would be a really good book club pick, and I have a Patreon now, so this probably is something that I'm going to read in my book club, or if not, then I'll just read it and talk about it on there, so very excited for this one. My most anticipated new release for the rest of the year, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. In July, Reckless by Lauren Roberts comes out, and I adored Powerless last year and I read Powerful last month, so I'm kind of in that mood for a YA fantasy romance. And Reckless is my book club pick in my Patreon, so that'll be really great to have some conversation flow with my Patreons. And another one that I'm really excited for, I think it comes out in November, is what is it called? The Songbird and the Heart of Stone? Yes. I kind of got it right. The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. That is book 3 in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and I loved Serpent and the Wings of Night last year, so I don't think I'm going to do a reread of that, but I definitely need to watch like a recap or 2 here on BookTube, because I can't quite remember how the second book ended in that one, and I know that there's like another book that I have to read on my TBR cart called Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, which is connected to that series. There's a lot going on in that one. A book that surprised surprised me the most. Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. I read this last month. This month, I can't remember. My months are blending together, but this one, I read so many mixed reviews on it, and I read it in a reading vlog, and it really surprised me. It is about a wedding planner and a florist. It is a second chance romance. So sweet, and like Black Cat energy, and I love a grumpy man. The atmosphere of the weddings, and it reminded me so much of The Wedding Planner with J-Lo in it that I don't know, it just reminded me of my childhood. There was a sense of nostalgia behind it. I didn't have a big wedding, so it was nice to kind of read about wedding planning, even though that stuff makes my skin crawl. Like, I don't want to do it myself, but it's nice reading about it. Favorite new author, or new to me, and that is gonna be Rachel Gillig. This book also really surprised me. I did not know going in that it was a YA fantasy, and if you guys know me, I judge YA pretty hard. I don't really like YA books, but going into this, I didn't know it was YA, and I enjoyed it. I'm really excited to read the second book, which I think I'm gonna read next month. Rachel Gillig's writing is just very whimsically, but not too much. Again, YA and whimsical writing don't really blend well for me. I just kind of want you to write and get to the point. Like, I don't need a really, really long description of the color of your blouse. Like, I'm not that kind of person. I don't want that kind of whimsically writing, but her writing was very pretty and flowery without being too much. Newest fictional crush, you guys. I'm reading a lot of romance this year. I've got a lot of new crushes. Don't tell Brock. They're fake. It's fine. Shane Lindley from The Dixon Rule. In my head, he's beautiful. He's described as beautiful. If you guys watched Brock and I's video, he's got 9 inches on him, you know? But I really also loved Elliot from Forget Me Not. He, again, that Black Cat energy, I was so into his brutal honesty, and he was not holding back on anyone's feelings, and that's very much like my husband, and I think I'm really attracted to that. But then also, I've got another one, Draco, because I read Manacled. It's a messed up story, but Draco. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. Speaking of Manacled, a book that made me cry. Manacled. It was such a dark, twisty, it's hard not to get emotional, especially with what Hermione is going through. It is a dense, dense book. You are stuck in Hermione's head for 80% of that book. There's not a lot of dialogue, and you are watching Hermione's brain and mind and like everything that she's going through get crushed, and it's really hard on the reader. Like, it is a tough book to read about, especially with the Handmaid's Tale aspect. It is not a fun book, but it was beautiful. The end is when I really, really cried. That last line, like that, oh, it was heartbreaking. Now, on the flip side, let's talk about a book that made me happy, and I actually picked 2. I picked Funny Story by Emily Henry. This was my second favorite Emily Henry book. Like, I was not expecting to like Funny Story as much as I did. I thought Funny Story was really relatable, and the quotes were really pretty in it. There were certain parts that did make me laugh out loud, but the relatability to it made me happy. Like, I could relate to Daphne, the main character in that book, so much that I was like, oh, I feel really like validated right now. Like, I feel really like comfortable reading this book, and that book really made me really happy. Now, another book that made me happy was Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. It was so sweet and endearing. The development that Mallory, I remembered that one, that Mallory goes through was so powerful to watch. Like, she's just growing. She's a young adult, and she's really like growing into herself in this industry of chess. And I think I was doing a vlog during I can't remember, but Mallory's inner dialogue and her wittiness made me cackle so hard. Like, this book made me really happy. The most beautiful book you've bought this year, and I have 2. Okay, I have 2 because I would just want to show them off. But the first one is actually The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and I got this in the bookish box, but if you guys want to admire it, I mean, like, it's so pretty. Look at the sprayed edges too. I think this one's beautiful, probably because it's from the bookish box. Like, they do such a good job, but I'll show you like the art on the inside. I mean, look at his wings. They're red too. Like, they did such a good job with the detail. And then there's art on the inside. These covers are actually reversible, so you can like reverse the dust jacket, which I think is really neat. I mean, beautiful is this one. And this one's actually not very pretty, but it's really cool and unique. Like, I love this. I got this for $9.50 at the used bookstore, and it's in great shape. Is this the first one? Yeah, and I have the second one as well, like a matching cover. I mean, it is one of the coolest books. Like, this dust jacket is kind of see-through. I think it's so neat. And then the inside, the book itself, all of the pages, if this dust jacket would go on, that'd be great. Thank you. The pages, like, every page is different. There's some kind of like, you know, darker page, there's artwork. I mean, it is so neat. Like, it's so cool. I cannot wait to read this book. Actually, a few months ago, I listened to probably the first hour of the audiobook, and I DNF'd it because I was like, they're saying things I'm not understanding. And I think it's because it's super visual, like cool and different. Like, this in an audiobook, you couldn't do that. Like, this book is too cool to listen to. You have to physically read it. So what books do I need to read by the end of the year? Too many, but the most important that I have is actually my 24 in 24 list that I posted on Bookstagram at the beginning of the year. I really want to challenge myself and read the rest of these books, and let me talk about a few of them. I just have to pull it up on my phone. So I've actually read half of these, which is really great. Like, I'm on track, which is wonderful, but the one that I'm really scared about is The Priory of the Orange Tree. I'm not really looking forward to reading that. I really want to because I think it's a dense book and I want to challenge myself. The reviews are kind of mixed, like it's a really long book, but people love it by the end. These all sound like really great winter and fall books to me. Like, I have no interest in reading them right now. It's a little too bright, summery, and warm outside to read these. Like, these are winter in my head, so I'm waiting. But I definitely want to finish the rest of this list. I am posting my monthly TBR on my Patreon, so every month you guys can see what I'm gonna read and read along with me. It doesn't just have to be the book club pick. Like, y'all can read my whole TBR if you want. How many 5-star reads have I had this year? I think I told you guys at the beginning of this video, I think I meant 9. So 9 5 stars. I'm gonna just throw them up on the screen. I'm not going to talk about any of them. Some of them really did take me by surprise. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I was not expecting to like that book as much as I did, and that was the first book that I read this year, so I just started off the year with a bang. For the final question, what books do I want to reread this year? I am actually planning a big reread of Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. She has a new book called The Black Oracle coming out, and I think that comes out next month. I kind of want to read it then, like when it comes out, but I also want to do a reread in December when I go home for Christmas, because I feel like it's a very wintry Christmas, like warm kind of book. Like, I want to read it during Christmas time or December. And last year I did all of my rereads in December, so I feel like December is going to be my reread month, but that's all I plan to reread this year. I don't think I'm going to have any more rereads besides those 3, the trilogy. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys for tuning in and supporting me. Go ahead and like this video. Comment down below if you want to answer some of these questions as well. I would love to know y'all's responses. I will see you in the next video. We're gonna have a good rest of the year.